What's up guys, it's Lord Both here with another video, and we have more Palworld lawsuit news. This comes to us from Insider Gaming, and it is titled, Nintendo has acquired a new anti-Palworld patent. Nintendo and the Pokemon Company recently received a new patent in the United States, which could help their lawsuit against Palworld. Which, by the way, they did acquire this new patent, but they also were rejected on like 23 other patents that they were trying to acquire in the United States. And again, it's really weird that they're trying to acquire patents now on these processes that could be argued are shared between both them and Palworld after Palworld is almost like a year and a half out. Nintendo acquired the new US patent, which is that number I'm not going to read, on February 11, 2025, and it was very similar to the one they published at the end of the last year. However, some different terms were used in this patent where field character had been replaced by virtual character and catching items with obtaining items, a display indicator for likelihood of success for obtaining a virtual character was mentioned too. Lastly, any mentions of the first and second modes were removed. Basically, it distinguished, and they say this earlier in the article, between a first mode of throwing what could be called a Pokeball to catch a character, and then a second mode of throwing the Pokeball again to release a character to engage in fighting. And this is the patent that they got specifically, was the whole catching and throwing of characters for Pokeballs. Everything revolves around the whole catching and throwing of Pokeballs. So how does Nintendo's new patent help their lawsuit against Palworld? The report reveals that with the first patent, Pocket Pair argued that there wasn't a clear separation between a first and second mode in Palworld. With the new patent, Nintendo removed the distinction between the first and second modes and added new terms like virtual character and obtaining items to increase their chances in the patent infringement lawsuit. Basically, that means that Pocket Pair says, oh, it's not the same as a Pokeball because there's no second and first mode when it comes to, catching this creature and releasing the creature. It's all the same move. And now in the US Patent Department, Nintendo is changing that wording so they can be closer to that to help them with their lawsuit. It's all semantics and legalese just to find a way that they can actually sue Palworld for copying them, specifically in this process. There are a couple of things to note here though. The first is that in the US courts, not the Japanese courts where they're already suing Pocket Pair, it's going to be very, very difficult for Nintendo, I think, to prove their patent lawsuit beyond maybe these Pokeballs. Because patent law in the US, unlike Japan, is not vague. It's very, very specific and very, very stringent. And I'd say that Pocket Pair stands a lot better chance in US courts than they do actually in Japanese courts, just because of the specificity of the law in the United States. There's also a little something to be said of US judges and their ability to have foresight and understand what kind of precedents they're going to be setting legally with certain judgments. The whole idea of opening the floodgates to future patent lawsuits for video game companies, which there would be a ton if you're going to let a lawsuit on a basic video game mechanic like this go through. Secondly, it's very, very interesting now that Nintendo is suing Pocket Pair and is very adamant about suing Pocket Pair and Palworld for their infringements on Pokeball throwing mechanics and all that, and seem to be absolutely quiet when it comes to games like Sonic Racing Crossworlds, which is an exact ripoff of Mario Kart, but with Sonic characters. I mean, you look at the game and it's Mario Kart, just with a Sonic skin on everything. How are they able at Sega to get away with this while Pocket Pair gets picked on? Of course, we all know the reason why. Sega is grandfathered in, they've been around for a long time, despite all the bad financial moves they've made previously in gaming. They still have a ton of money that they could use to fight Nintendo in the courts, even though I still think they'd be outmatched. But it's very, very interesting that Nintendo seems to be hell-bent on picking on a little independent company rather than a big player that's obviously infringing on what could be considered patents as well. But those are just my thoughts on all this. If you have your own thoughts, go ahead and leave them in the comments. If you liked this video, go and like, share, and subscribe. If you didn't like this video, I appreciate you watching all of it, and we'll talk to you again later.